This is the Podcast, the podcast for all things stoner, doom, and sludge. My name is Chris. I am your host, and today we're going to get a little cosmic and a little bit psychedelic. We are going to talk all things dark markers. But before we do, just a quick bio here. A while back, I decided to quit a touring band because it just became too much to juggle with being a successful family man. But here lies the problem. I am an artist. This incessant need to create what I have perceived as a now limited outlet left me feeling anxious. So I started writing music and creating art digitally, getting out all of my ideas that I could sculpt and obsess over in my free time. What has culminated from this venture has brought me here with this idea. I'm not a band. I'm just a man with some cool shit that I'd like to share with the world. So, with that said, I give you the Dark Markers Project. It's a collection of artistic imagery coupled with sound. Each piece, product, and movement is a window into a universe that I have been sculpting over time. A cosmic and psychedelic journey within my brain, or possibly the Pleiadian High Council of Seven that is controlling me. I'm not really sure. Regardless, I've decided to turn this into a tangible item with sonic accompaniment. Each package contains an article of apparel, an assortment of art, an adhesive advertisement, and a trippin' audio. All right, let's get into the interview right now. If I were to tell you that there is a cosmic psychedelic alternatively soundtracked apparel with sounds and imagery from the Pleiadian High Council of Seven, channeled through some dude, would you be interested? I know I am, and I have that guy on the podcast today. His name is Christopher Jason Mitchell-Coons. How are you today, sir?
I am outstanding. How are you?
Awesome. Now, we have talked, a long time ago. You were previously one of the bassists in the band Source. And I remember when we were talking about the previous material for the band Source, you had a lot of work with the logos and maybe even some things we talked about, sacred geometry.
Yeah.
So can you tell me, like, first off, you departed from Source, and was there a specific reason why?
Mainly it was just because my responsibilities changed and my priorities, and I was lucky enough to find this amazing woman that I fell madly in love with, and I became a husband and a father, and for the first time in my life I found something that gave me happiness that I don't want to say the word trumped, but was more important than playing bass and partying. And bass playing has always been the thing that's kind of kept me going, kept me alive through my whole life. And I love performing, I love being in bands, but the way that the music industry is right now, the only way to make any money is just to constantly tour and sell vinyl and all that. So it wasn't in the cards for me anymore, and I needed to stay home and take care of my wife and my family and provide and be the 50-50 partnership that any successful marriage needs. So everybody, specifically a few members of the band had, real plans. They wanted to keep it going, and they wanted Source to, and I totally get it. I believed in that band very much. And
sure.
But they wanted to constantly tour, and one tour after another, and the pressure that was put on me to confirm dates when I had a job. I was bartending at the time, and I couldn't take off and leave my family anymore. And it's really a glorified vacation. Like it's not like I'm coming home with cash, we're not at that level, but I would have to keep touring to get to that level.
Right.
And who knows would ever pan out,
Yeah. And
so I had to step away.
So priorities change, passions change sometimes. And it's not that your musical passion has waned at all. You've had several releases in a different vein, and we'll go over that. But before we do, You mentioned your wife, and I know that you and your wife were working on this project, the Badass Beauty Salon. So we got this salon thing, and is this like a permanent makeup kind of deal?
Yeah, it's all her. She's very driven and very amazing, and she decided that she wanted to get into permanent cosmetics and started with microblading and then moved into permanent tattooing.
Yeah.
And so it just the evolution was just so awesome, and it kept growing and growing, and then it went from a bedroom in our house to, okay, well, maybe we should find a spot, and we found a spot, and then we were there for 2 years, and then we decided to she had a partner, and then she wanted to just kind of it just be her, so we found a smaller spot, and it's going great. Like, I can't say enough about that girl and her drive.
Now, I have seen it.
I just do marketing and help like that. I really have no, leverage in that beauty. I just support,
Absolutely. Now, I don't know, maybe she talks about it or something, because I can imagine I've seen women that have the permanent tattooing done. Do any males get it?
I don't think she's had any. I mean, we joke about. I have a few eyebrows on my leg, where she, kind of practiced on me.
Very interesting.
But no, I don't think she's had any men come in and do a lip blush or an eyeliner or freckles. Freckles are the big thing right now.
No kidding, really?
So I've asked her to do the Pleiades star cluster tattooed on my face and freckles, and she's like, "Are you sure?" So,
that is so crazy. I remember, like, in the Brady Bunch. I'm older, so it was like the middle child, Jan. She had freckles. She was rubbing lemons on her face, trying to get rid of them, and now all these.
You remember that episode? Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way,
shot Jan in the face.
Yeah, can we? And we don't have to talk about it, but I mean, Michael Brady is an architect, and he's got 6 kids and a husband and wife. I'm sure the husband and wife had their own bathroom, but you got one bathroom for 6 kids? Just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the smells that must have come out of there.
Oh my God!
And the humidity from all the sexual tension from stepbrother and sister.
Well, I think that's why Greg.
You're telling me that they didn't sneak through the bedroom or through that bathroom at night,
I think that's why Greg finally had to get into the attic, to be honest.
The whole bunch is based on sin, I think,
Indeed. So, okay. So you're redirecting, you're changing life a little bit, passion's changing. Is this your first foray into creating clothing? And by clothing, we're talking about Dark Markers, which is your brand. Is this your first foray?
Actually not. So I grew up here. I've lived in Arizona pretty much. I was born in Illinois, came here when I was like 4, and I'm a bit of a hothead, and I liked to get mixed up and shit. And when I was like 18 or 19, I was just getting into a lot of trouble, and my parents had divorced, and I moved back to Illinois to live with my old man because I thought it would keep me out of trouble. It didn't. Right. But while I was there, I've always been pretty artistic, and I was drawing a lot because I had no friends. I just went from like this crazy party house in Scottsdale to living with my dad and grandmother in Springfield, Illinois. So talk about a change, doing 5 hits of acid and fighting and all that stuff to living with my grandma. And so I was drawing a lot, and my last name's Coons, and so as a joke, I wrote Coons Tunes on the bottom of one of my drawings. And my dad, the narcissist that he is, he was just like, "Oh, what Coons Tunes?" Because it's his name, so he wanted to find some way to like plug his own bullshit into it.
Right.
And so, to his credit, when I was 19, he fronted the cash for us to start my very first t-shirt company called Coons Tunes. And I did like 4 designs, and it was all screen printed, and we did, 3-4 color designs. And I mean, we really swung for the fences. We had like every color, and we're talking 1993, 94, and I'm in Illinois. I know nothing about the people there, but we started this thing, and we started putting all these Coons Tunes shirts into head shops around Champaign, Urbana, Springfield area. Well, this was the first time that I had found out that Coons has other meanings.
Indeed it does.
And I was unaware. I mean, I've heard people say, I'm going to knock the goddamn raccoons off the porch.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was a racial slur.
Right.
And that kind of went sideways for us because one of the drawings was a severed thumb, and where it was it was very crude bullshit designs. It was a severed thumb, and at the bottom of the thumb it was like a skull. The color of the thumb was a little bit darker than my skin pigment. I'm just coloring.
Yeah.
But somebody, for some reason, had gotten it into their brain that it was some sort of like racist thing.
I see what you're saying now, and yeah, that I could understand where it's coming from.
Right. And like the fact that my old man never thought about this, I'm 19, I had no idea. And next thing I know, somebody complained, and the few head shops that we had said, sorry, we can't do this. So I was just like, what the fuck? Like Coons means blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
How did you not know that, Dad? So that fell apart pretty quick, and I wound up sitting on a bunch of boxes of stupid t-shirts for a long time, and I don't have a single to this day because it was, 30 years ago.
So I guess the question is, at a young age, you started drawing. What was inspiring you at the time?
I don't really know what I think my inspiration at that time was just keeping my mind off the fact that I had just moved my whole life to my father and my grandmother's house. And, I deal with a lot of anxiety and depression. I have my whole life. And I think that it was just kind of overwhelming that I went from such a crazy party scene to living there. So I just needed an escape,
So I guess the next follow-up is, did it help you to combat the depression?
At that time, I don't know what was going through my mind back then, but it was definitely an escape. It's always been an escape, so I'm sure it did help. Mm-hmm. But just the overall vibe of me picking up and moving to the Midwest, which seemed so stupid and nerdy to me and boring, was overwhelming. And my stay there lasted maybe 9 months, because I was, like I said, I'm a hothead, and I wound up getting in probably more trouble in Illinois with fights and bullshit there than I was ever here. And my dad was just like, this isn't going to work. And I'm like, you're right. So I drove back. And then shortly after that, I got into playing bass. Oh, so I found my direction, and I hung up the pencil for the bass guitar, and I didn't really even touch anything as far as visual art until I landed a job doing photo editing in Photoshop, and fell madly in love with Adobe Photoshop, and then that's been my paintbrush ever since.
Oh, right on. So now we're here. We're at Dark Markers. How did you come about this? Like, what was? Because like I said, I've seen the material that you did with Source, and it has its specific powers, if you will. How did you make that leap? Because, and I would like to know about the name, but you have bright. It's really beautiful looking, but it's like it's popping, and it's not.
The markers definitely aren't dark.
No. So,
which I find kind of absurd, but here we are.
Yeah.
So
how'd you get to Dark Markers?
when I was still in Source, I want to say right around 2016, I gave up drinking.
Okay.
One of my many times. And I had this huge, and I guess I just turned, I was in my 40s and I had Source and it was great, but I wanted another outlet. And, without hangovers, my creative drive just multiplies. And I think you can ask a lot of musicians that have given up such vices and, they think, well, how am I going to find my own, how am I going to find myself? My identity is in partying. Bullshit, and all of a sudden the creativity just exploded. And so I had almost too much. And I'm the type of guy that if I don't create something every day, I start to panic. And so I had Source, but I was gifted a lap steel guitar, which I'm not a guitar player. So I'd gotten a few different reverb effect pedals, and I was fucking around with this thing. And to make a pretty long story short, I decided to start a little side project band.
Okay.
And I don't think you've seen it, but a few people that may know Source and know me know that right around 2016, 17, I decided to start a side project called Source, or it's called Dark Markers. It was just me. I had synths, drum machine, samplers, this lap steel, and I did like this little one-man show, and I played a handful of shows. My very first one was at the Valley Bar, opening up for Shane's band Via Vengeance. Source didn't play because Tanner was out of town, but I think that Goya played that, and Take Over and Destroy, and it went really well, and I got a really good response from it, and people were really stoked and proud of me. And so that kind of sealed the deal. I was like, all right, I'm gonna have this side project called Dark Markers. And I always wanted to find a drummer, but it never really worked out, so I just kind of continued with that.
Right.
And when Source ended, or when I left Source, I was a bit panicked. Granted, I knew that my priorities had shifted, and I knew I was happy, but like I said, my creative side of me was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Right. And I didn't want anxieties and depression to overtake me and create some sort of situation in my marriage. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to start this side project. So I started with the music first.
Mm-hmm.
And the first year that I was out of Source, I probably created 10 hours worth of music.
Okay.
And I got Logic, and I got acclimated to that whole process, and I just started hammering out all this music that is nothing like Source. But it was fun, and it was kind of absurd and cosmic, which is everything that I've kind of am.
Okay.
Snarky, and I try not to take myself too seriously, especially my art. Like, you can have the art that will blow motherfuckers away, but I don't want to ever be too serious about it, or take myself too seriously.
Right.
So with that music, I started just creating some designs, and I just started to dust off my visual artistic skills, and it just kind of became this thing. And I thought to myself, okay, well, I have all of this music. I was trying to find a drummer because I was still caught in the mode of I really wanted to perform. I miss performing a lot, and I wanted to start a new band. I wanted to show the people that I'm not done yet, and I wanted to have absolute control of my new musical project. And the drummer thing, I had a few people that expressed interest, but it never really panned out. And then the pandemic hit, and so I wound up just being at home a lot, and I just started hammering out all of this visual stuff like I was hammered out the music prior. And so I just decided then, I was like, well, what if I start like another t-shirt company and just, put soundtracks to the art? Because I was like, there's plenty of bands that have merch,
right.
But if you don't like the band, you're not going to wear the t-shirt, no matter how cool it is.
Right.
At least that's how I feel, And so I was like, well, what if I do t-shirts that have soundtracks? And that way, if they like the stuff, if they like the t-shirt, they can buy it. And if they don't like the music, it's not really that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm. So
that's kind of where we're at.
Is with the names that are, I love these names for each different style.
I'm very proud of my names. I've always been a bit of a wordsmith when it comes to snarky bullshit.
Now, is it the music and the name coming before the artist or before the illustration, or is it vice versa?
I've never created a visual art yet. I have a few ideas. A lot of the songs already had the names, and then I would have visual art. I would create something, and sometimes I would have a path. I'm like, all right, well, this song is called such and such. Now I'm going to create the visual for it. But now, since I had so much musical material to work with, I would just kind of fire off something visually, and at the end of it, I'm like, okay, well, this kind of matches this, so this is this now,
I gotcha. Okay. Hold on a second. I think we're.
But the Pleiades are telling me everything. They're telling me what to do.
Okay. Hold on just a second. We're gonna just take a quick break here. In the past few years, we have heard a lot from a label in the southwestern region of the United States. With bands like Abysm, Book of Worms, Breath, Cortege, Grim Earth, L'Uomo Nero, Nebula Drag, Penitent Man, Fog, Red Mesa, Stone Machine Electric, The Growl Brothers, The Horn God, The Misery Men, and When the Deadbolt Breaks. Also, compilations like Women of Doom, and the split between Lord Buffalo and Pale Horse, Pale Rider. And now they have two new artists on the roster, Benny Benededli and Spliff Ripper. We have Desert Records, the label that focuses on desert, heavy psych, doom, experimental, and stoner rock. With over 15 releases lined up, this DIY label will be introducing the world to new bands and new material from classic desert rock bands. And now, Desert Records has a tiered subscription service. In the subscription, you will receive all of the past releases digitally. You will also receive all of the new material as it is released, and you will also have access to subscriber-only messages and 20% off of merchandise. All of that for just $36 a year. They also have a CD tier available where you get all of that, plus 3 CDs at sign-up. And hey, all you vinyl fanatics out there, they didn't forget about you. For the LP tier, you will get all of the digital releases and an LP at sign-up for just $60 a year. So it's obvious, it's time to enter the desert. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so, I really want to go into some of the names of the art, and if you could pick a few, I'd like to discuss a few, and where are these ideas actually coming from? So, everybody, I want you to listen to some of the titles for this artwork. So, we have Horseshoes and Anal Probes. Personally, I got to kick it off with that. Why?
That was one of my first.
Why So Fidgety, 33? Why? Duality with Lemoon? Dark Encounters, Crucifix and Forget. Eye on the Pine, Father Escalates Bad Trip, What Shiva Thinks of Your 90-Watt Coma. Cranky, Gnostics and Stoners, Self-Aware Harness. There's just so much good stuff here. Are there any that really stand out to you that you want to discuss?
Well, Horseshoes and Anal Probes was one of my very first ones. And back before I decided, I think when I first did Dark Markers, I think before I had left Source, I was going to do another side band called Pony Talk.
Okay.
Ponytawk, and it was going to be this snarky bullshit, like, it was going to have a backstory, like, these good old boys started this like weird ass band, and come to find out all horses are aliens and all this bullshit. And I had this whole thing going, and Horseshoes and Anal Probes started from that, and that was that's fun. A lot of the stuff, because I basically have this on my phone. I have all of these things that I've written down. So I'll be watching.
Oh my God.
Ancient Aliens. I am so obsessed with aliens and the idea that they were here 1,000 years ago, and just the bullshit path that humanity is on right now.
Right.
Versus where we could be, and forgotten technology. I don't know if it's healthy or unhealthy how consuming that stuff is to me. I mean, ask my wife. I'm constantly watching something about aliens or that kind of shit. So I'll be watching something and something will happen and it'll trigger a thought or an idea, and I'll just write it on my phone. And then that will either become a song. At first they were all song titles, and now it's like, I honestly haven't written a song in a few months now. All my creative energy has been just into creating designs.
Sure.
So it's all, all of them absurd stuff is going into some sort of, whether it be song or artistic design. But yeah, I'm constantly coming up with little stupid names for stuff.
So there is another one that I don't know if I mentioned it in the list. Take the fucking power back. Now, is that something related to everything that's gone on in the past year, or something different?
Yeah, oh, definitely. And another thing that my wife can say is I got really heated about what has been going on politically, and I'm very vocal about my disgust for Trumpies.
Understood.
I mean, it blows my mind that some people are just so willing to lie. They're like the path that this country's gone down, as far as just like truth not meaning anything, just blows my mind. And I was getting really worked up about that stuff. And I'm a very emotional person. So no matter what it is, a lot of my emotion is invested in that, so.
And it comes out through your work.
Yes, definitely. So take the fucking power back. I came up with the name after I had created that design because there's a video that circulated about I almost want to get emotional thinking about it, an orangutan beating on a tractor with a stick. Have you seen that?
I haven't, but I'm assuming it's because the land was being destroyed.
And it's so heartbreaking what we're doing to this planet. It really tears me up. And everything I want to do, most of my designs have some sort of UFO in them or some sort of hint at aliens. Some don't, some are other things, but
right.
I really wanted to do an orangutan being carried by a UFO with a chainsaw saying, all right, who's cutting down who, fucker,
I got you. Yeah.
So after I had created that, I just was like, take the fucking power back. I mean, it's kind of a Rage Against the Machine call, but.
Well, I'm sure Zach and Tom would be very, very proud of it. And I think maybe you should find out where they are. Send them a shirt. Say, hey, tell me what you think. You never know. They might need another album cover.
Yeah, there's the one. It's funny you say that because I'm very self-critical, and at least with the music for the first 6 or 7 months that I had all this stuff, I was so scared to show the world. Because when it's all you, when you're in a band, you can blame anybody.
Right.
You know, your band sucks. You're only 25% of the problem. When you start something on your own and it sucks, it's all you. You know, so I was afraid to show the world my music, and finally, I guess it was when 2020 hit, I was like, fuck it, you know. I started a Bandcamp page, released all the material, and then slowly after that, the whole t-shirt thing. But now if I create a design, I put it out there. I don't give a shit anymore, you know. And I think a lot of that comes from just being a lot healthier internally with my emotions and my happiness, and just any of those demons and voices in my head that say you suck or you shouldn't show people this, a lot of that just came from being foggy through alcohol, you know.
Understood. Yeah, you know, I was kind of having a discussion with somebody else, a different band member, and he says, you know, I'm really kind of down about this. Somebody told me I should just give up. Like my music is shit. It's just total shit. And I'm like, well, congratulations, dude. You got your first hater. That's awesome. Because if you're not pissing someone off, if you're not creating a reaction, what the fuck are we doing? Like, literally. Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, I deal well with negative. I haven't had a bunch, and I'm not saying people don't like my stuff, but I'm just not popular enough to get any sort of comments, whether good or bad. Sure, I've had people reach out and be like, dude, what you're doing is awesome. Yeah. But I don't have this whole world of people that are like, fuck Chris Coons, fuck Dark Markers, fuck you know. At least no one's told me, you know.
I hear you. Also, just a few of the more number-based things, because I'm curious. Why so fidgety, 33? Why?
Why So Fidgety 33 was a song and a dare I say short story adaptation that I created years and years and years ago.
Right.
So it started, why so fidgety 33, why so fidget? And it was this whole idea of you know, I mean, it's been done over and over and over again. An android sitting there doing its stupid work, and it becomes self-aware.
Right.
And it's number 33. And as it becomes more self-aware, the other androids realize that there's something wrong with 33. And so they're like, why so fidgety, 33? Why? Because he doesn't want to be there anymore. He doesn't want to be a fucking slave to the system.
Interesting. Now, I notice, and the next one is what Shiva thinks of your 90-watt coma, and I have noticed that whether it's the 3 or the 9, you're picking very powerful numbers in the numerical system. Is that intentional?
Sometimes it's an accident, but I'm very much into sacred geometry and all that, you know. I've always been into it, but a few brushes with DMT really hammered that home.
Right. Okay. So you've been on those trips before.
I've taken DMT. Yeah.
Whether it was DMT or you mentioned that you've taken acid before, have you ever created illustrations while going through that experience, or is it too mind-bending that?
I don't think that I have. I haven't done anything like that in quite a while, and I don't know if I ever will again, because I have kids, and I don't know what that would do to me. You know, if now that I have these beautiful children and this amazing wife, and to go down that, and it could be a super positive thing, or I could trip out and be like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, like, you have kids, like, fucking straighten out. But I would never talk shit about the process. I think that everybody should hallucinate, because it kind of just pulls you out of the track of, you know, everybody in society, I think, is going down this specific track of, you know, money is everything and all that bullshit, you know. And I think when you trip the fuck out you switch tracks a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and the more you do it, I think the further away you get from the highway of bullshit, you know.
And you can see things that maybe weren't there before. Now, we're, like you said earlier, regarding your dad and parents and family, we all have our certain baggage, and to free yourself from that and see where your mind can, quote unquote, drop out to, it could be a really positive thing.
Definitely.
So if we move forward here, let me see. What am I going to pick here? Father Escalante's Bad Trip?
Father Escalante's Bad Trip was just a story that I had read about I want to say, a Spanish missionary that had gone to, he basically had like an alien encounter.
Okay.
I want to say. And so I had done that art, and every time I finish an art piece, I kind of go through. Sometimes it's like I create the art about the music, or sometimes I kind of see what pairs. I think with that one, I just paired that visual with the song that I had already created.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's just about a Spanish missionary that had just had a real crazy experience with some aliens. I think that's what it was.
It sounds good to me, man.
The other one that you had talked about, Shiva, I'm really into Shiva. I'm really into the idea of this god that destroys to create.
Right.
Like, that just is amazing to me. And so I got really into Shiva a while back. And a year ago, so not this last Christmas, but the Christmas before, I was kind of going through a little bit of an internal thing, and I had written what Shiva thinks of your 90-watt coma. And at the time, I don't know what it is now, but it was a half hour long, the whole song. And right around that time, I had decided to seek therapy.
Okay.
And I'd gone and seen a therapist. And it's funny how that song internally for me goes hand in hand with that time in my life.
Right.
And going and talking with a therapist and really ironing out some issues that I needed to iron out to be the best husband and person that I could be. And so what Shiva thinks is to me one of my most important audio pieces, and I'm really proud of it. I think that it's there's a lot of shit going on in there.
Let me look at that. Which?
I think it's the second one. It might be in the first or the second album.
On Antimatter Than Ever. No, hold on. Let's see. Cosmic Disclosure. Hold on.
It might be in that one.
Oh yeah. It's the last track, clocking in at a wonderful 23 minutes.
Yeah, it was about 32, and I a lot of people were like, "What the dude? Your shit's too long," and I understand that. For anybody that wants to become a fan of the music, not everybody has time to be listening to no fucking half-hour long music, but I don't care. Like it's what I do, and it's what I'm always going to do. And
right,
if I want to write a half-hour long song, I'm going to do it. And there's a lot of musicians that I respect also think along those lines.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, so what is that? Technically, it's 2 Doom songs in a row. I mean, that's about the length. I mean,
yeah. I mean, Source wrote a lot of long material, and I've always been a long song kind of guy. I'm really into really crazy atmospheric and prog music, and with that comes long songs.
Yeah, and speaking of the music with prog and etc. Relapse Records is releasing Genghis Tron.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
And is that the type of music that you're listening to now, or what's on your playlist right now?
Right now, my wife and I listen to a lot of Bjork.
Really?
Bjork's playing in the background right now, but I'm really into Bjork. I'm really into Church of the Cosmic Skull. I found them not too long ago, and I love them. They're from England. They're wildly talented. There's a bunch of people in the band, male and female, which I've always I think a lot of my favorite bands are female fronted. I like androgynous rock, you know.
Okay.
And Church of the Cosmic Skull, it's such a positive message, but it also has this kind of snarky, darker undertone to a lot, like everybody's going to die and shit like that. I love that band.
Have you heard the solo material yet from Bill Fisher?
Bill Fisher, yeah, I bought it. Yeah, it's great. He's amazing.
That's a great album. It
is. He's a very talented guy, and I gave him some props, and he very quickly responded to me. So that was a really big deal to me.
It's funny. I did the same thing, and I was like, "Hey, wow, Bill Fisher's messaging me." No, that's
right. Yeah, that's
pretty
awesome.
fucking cool. So we've got all this stuff, whether it's shirts, sweatshirts, raglans, tank tops, bomber jackets, and now what? Some of the most popular, the leggings. I mean, I think I would love to see this everywhere with the legging culture, and it sounds so silly, but years ago you rarely saw that, and now it's like everybody and their brother, or maybe I should say sister, is wearing leggings now. So this is the perfect piece for it. Now,
I mean, there's a huge, there's a whole yoga culture that wears leggings, and girls, yogi girls, that they live their life in leggings, and that's great.
Yeah.
And what happened for me was one of the companies that I used I was kind of going through their other stuff, because I would just immediately go to the t-shirt section to upload my art and get that done. And then I started looking at all over print, is what they called it, leggings. And they were all, the picture they showed you was just white. And so I would just kind of like drift over it. I'm like, who wants a pair of white leggings, like. And then I realized what actually was going on there, and I was like, oh, you cover the whole thing. The whole thing is your canvas,
Right.
And so I started just playing around, uploading some of my actual, a lot of my art is just a circle.
Mm-hmm.
It has the art in it, and then dark markers around that,
Right.
And so I just loaded, that circle on the leggings, and then kind of just patterned it out so that actual circle was just kind of skewed all over the leggings, and that was cool. But then as time went on, I started to realize, I was like, oh shit, I can design to this pattern.
Yeah.
So that was when I started to just break down all of my old art, remove layers, and just create leggings out of that. And that was really exciting for me, and I live my life in leggings now, which is absolutely awesome. I can't even imagine what the people at Circle K, when I go and get coffee or go anywhere, think. They're like, this biker looking motherfucker is wearing these crazy ass colorful leggings,
But that's all good, man. It's all kinds. Yeah. Now, just 1 second. Sorry. Okay, so I saw on social media that you spent some time at a market about maybe 2 months ago selling your wares. Now, other than online, will you be doing that again? Because I should say we're in Arizona. You're in somewhere around the Phoenix area, and are there going to be any more local markets for where they could maybe buy this material in person?
Yeah. So basically, as far as the in-person sales or the markets, my wife, not only does she do the Badass Beauty AZ.shop, badassbeauty.shop. So she does that. She also does rings. She's a silversmith.
Right.
And that's really taken off during the pandemic. And so because she has her own stuff that she can sell, and because I have these t-shirts, we decided to try and do some markets. And so we did the Thunderbird market, I want to say in December.
Right.
And so basically what happens is when I create a design, you can order it all on the website, but whenever I do it, I'll order a few to come here, know? So I have like a whole rack of t-shirts of different styles, colors, and sizes here. So when I do those markets, I can bring a small portion of what I've got and sell in person, for a discounted cost. So we will definitely be doing more markets in the future. Awesome. The Thunderbird one is really great, and Jeremiah is a great guy, and we might do a few other ones. We're kind of looking into that right now, but yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. And it's, with the material that your wife has, whether the silver or the dark markers material, I can see this. There was something that was happening when I lived in Florida where they would actually take over, what was it called? It was Revolution. Let's see, it was The Edge, it was Revolution, a club. And I don't know, maybe under 1,000 cap club. And they had all the stuff in there, and it was almost like all like, DIY home, local stuff. And awesome. I would love to see some of that again here. I know we're in a weird time right now, but we can mask up and get out there. Definitely. I'm all for people, creating their own little universe. I've definitely done it, and it's what's kept me 100% fulfilled, not only in life but during this pandemic. Granted, pandemic or not, my life has changed, and I'm not the type of guy that's going to go out and get beers with boys anymore. I mean, here and there is fine, but I was so unhappy personally for so long. I was out doing my thing. Right. And now that I've found true happiness in my life, being at home is great, but I am an artist. So that incessant need to create has been there for me now. And I've just created my own little world from home, and I'm as happy as a clam staying home, I got to tell you, man, I had to figure out all this phone stuff to do interviews, and then I was like, this is a little bit different than waiting around at 1:32 in the morning for everybody to get packed up and then do the interview. So it's like things are bright, things are shiny right now, so it's awesome. So, okay, So until we have another market or something where somebody can purchase something locally, I guess we would go online. So if you could, please tell me, how can they get all things by you?
Darkmarkers.com. I just built my own Squarespace website, working 9 to 5 or 5 to 9 is up to me. But I just got my own website, and I used to do this. I used to build websites and be a graphic designer for a long time, which is where I got my Photoshop chops. But you can go there and buy anything that I've got to offer.
Now, on top of that, and I think it's the final question here, would you do commission, or do you do any commission work? Would you be interested in working with any bands for their products?
Yeah, I'm totally down for that.
Right on.
I'm happy to do it.
You heard it. You got to hit him up. Hit up Christopher, and he'll see what he can create. And if you haven't seen this stuff, head over to darkmarkers.com. This stuff is going to blow your mind. It has such unique properties to it. I loved it the first second I saw it, and I couldn't wait to someday, and today's the day, to get you on the podcast, brother.
I very much appreciate you reaching out to me. It means a lot, man.
Thank you so much, and we are going to be talking again very, very soon.
Thank you.
This show has been executively produced by Ian from No Masters Audio. His link is in the show notes, as well as all things Doom Tomb Podcast, all things craniumradio.com for the Doom Tomb Show, Sunday evenings, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, we can't forget some other killer podcasts to listen to. The Stoner Witch Sessions, which I'm going to be on very soon. The Jamspace Podcast, Blynd Submyshynnz, and the Fuzzy Underground. And, I am a podcast fan. I can't lie. I've been listening to a lot of Smartless lately. It's with Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, and Sean Hayes. They're a great podcast. They goof on each other, and it is a great time. Highly suggest you check it out as much as the previous podcasts I mentioned. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We really appreciate it. If you got an interview that you need done, a review, a submission, hit us up at gmail.com. It's doomtombpodcast at gmail.com. Until that next time, meantime, and in between time, enjoy yourselves. Stay healthy. Stay happy. Support your bands. Reach out to your friends. And don't forget to stay heavy.